Ever find yourself dreaming about just leaving it all behind and disappearing into the wild? Well, that's basically me, pretty much all of the time. I've been hiking and camping for as long as I can remember, and over the years I've backpacked through the wilderness of Alaska, Norway and many more. Honestly, for me, being out there in nature is probably one of the most rewarding things you can do in life. But if I need to be really honest, the line between an unforgettable adventure and an absolute nightmare usually comes down to one thing: preparation. So bringing the right gear with you really makes all the difference. So in this video I want to share the gear that I use on all of my camping trips. Most of these items have been with me for years, because if I find something that is durable, I tend to stick with it as long as I can. I guess I'm pretty loyal to the gear that just works. Also, just to be clear, nothing in this video is sponsored. I'm not getting paid to say any of this. With that out of the way, let's jump right into it. The single most important item for any camping trip is of course your tent. That being said, there are plenty of other ways to spend a night outdoors. You could string up a hammock, you could take cover behind a simple tarp, or you could just simply go cowboy camping, sleeping under the sky with no shelter at all. Each has its own charm. Still, in my opinion, a tent remains one of the most versatile and reliable pieces of gear you can bring along. The tent I've been using as a solo backpacker is the Nemo Hornet Osmo 1P. And honestly, this tent, it's been through a lot with me. Thunderstorms, mountains, rainstorms, snow, strong winds, you name it. And not once has it let me down. What surprises me the most is how durable this is, considering it's marketed as this ultralight tent, because usually ultralight means you have to compromise somewhere. But this one holds up impressively well. On top of that, it's ridiculously easy to set up. Because when you're out on a multi-day trip, the last thing you want to do is wrestle with your tent at the end of a long day. But with the minimal pole structure of this tent, it makes pitching really quick and easy. Now, it is on the smaller side, but personally I really like that. But if you want a bit more room to stretch out, or maybe you're just a lot taller than me, or if you're traveling with a partner, the 2P version is probably the way to go. Lately I've also been experimenting more and more with tarp camping. With a tarp you get this amazing flexibility. It's lighter than almost any tent, it packs down tiny, and you can pitch it in countless different ways depending on the weather and the environment. There are literally hundreds of different setups, each with its own advantages. But the thing that you have to remember with a tarp is that you need to be prepared. Tarp camping requires a bit of skill and preparation. For example, you'll want to practice a variety of knots. But the payoff though is huge, because this tarp, it basically connects you more with the environment. And honestly, nothing beats sleeping under this simple shelter while you can feel this breeze coming through. Now, the second most important item, sleeping bags. Again, when it comes to sleeping bags, there are so many options, but the most important factor is always gonna be the season and the conditions you'll be sleeping in. So before buying a bag, take the time to research the weather that you're heading to. For example, I went to Norway a couple of weeks ago and I was shocked how much colder it felt than the temperature on my weather app. And that's because the wind can make the temperature feel a lot colder than what your weather app is saying. So always keep this in the back of your mind. Trust me, you don't want to sleep feeling cold. For the summer, I use the Marmot Never Summer Zero sleeping bag. And yeah, like the name says, it's basically a summer sleeping bag with a comfort rating up to 0 degrees. For autumn and winter activities, I actually use another sleeping bag, namely a Mammut minus 11 degrees sleeping bag. This one is warm enough for cold nights and durable enough to handle years and years of trips. It's compact and packs down pretty well, which is key when you're backpacking because every gram counts. But yeah, if you plan to go camping in different seasons, I would really recommend getting multiple sleeping bags. Because if you're gonna use one sleeping bag for different seasons, it's always gonna feel too hot or just too cold, but never quite perfect. And remember, the right sleeping bag isn't just about staying warm, it's mainly for getting a good night of rest. Because really, not getting a good night of sleep just ruins the whole trip. Now, sleeping mats. Sleeping mats might seem unimportant at first, but they're actually one of the most important pieces of camping gear. Because the ground, even when it doesn't feel freezing, acts like this giant heatsink. And as you lie still through the night, it constantly pulls this warmth from your body. So that's why a good sleeping mat makes such a difference, because it basically gives this layer of insulation between you and the earth, keeping your body heat in the body. The mat I use is the Tensor all-season ultralight insulated sleeping pad. It gives me great warmth for all of the 4 seasons with minimal weight, and honestly it's just mad comfortable. Now the backpack. One of the most important things is that the pack fits you well. So for this reason alone, please stop listening to online guides and actually test out your backpack in the shop. Now, the capacity of your backpack is also a tricky one because it depends on your trip. Sometimes I see people trekking with backpacks that look like they're carrying a kitchen sink. This is also the first mistake that I made when I first started out with backpacking. Anyways, here's a tip that I swear by. Buy your backpack last and get all of your gear first. Sleeping bag, tents, mat, stove, everything. And then afterwards figure out how much volume you actually need. And that way you don't overspend on a giant pack or end up struggling to fit everything in a tiny bag. Personally, I've always been a very light packer. Packing light makes my camping and hiking way more enjoyable. Hauling a ton of stuff up a mountain just isn't my style. Ideally, I think it's smart to have 2 different backpacks, one for single night trips and one for multi-day treks. For single night adventures, I use the Bonfus Altus 28 liters. What I love about the Altus is how customizable it is. You can pick your fabric, volume, size, shoulder straps, hip belt, even external pockets. The material is not only lightweight but also extremely durable. Anyways, a couple of brands I would really recommend are Z-Packs, Atom Packs, Hyperlight. They're all companies that sell very decent ultralight packs. And if you're not interested in this whole ultralight packing thing, which is, let's be honest, also just a bit of a trend nowadays, you can also just go with brands like Osprey or Decathlon, which are very, very decent for their price. Alright, now let's talk drip. Look, to be honest, looking cool in the mountains is nice, but please don't value aesthetics over quality, because honestly there's nothing cool about looking like a soggy, freezing potato. The number 1 rule I would tell backpacking beginners is you need to stop thinking that you need this one giant padded, insulated, waterproof jacket to solve all of your problems. Instead, you should treat your jacket like a shell, and its only job is to keep the wind and the rain off. That's literally it. The real warmth needs to come from the layers underneath. A mid layer like a fleece, for example, or maybe a Merino base layer. This way, if you're feeling too hot, you can just peel one layer off. So yeah, master layering and you will be comfortable no matter the weather. Now let's talk about base layer. If you're doing a lot of activity with sweating, but at the same time you're walking in cold conditions, your sweat can freeze and you'll get cold really fast. That's why it's a good idea to have some kind of base layer to regulate your temperature. What I really recommend is merino wool, because wool keeps you dry, it regulates your temperature, and it helps you to keep smelling fresh like a cucumber. I know I hate the smell of cucumbers, but you know what I mean. But yeah, personally I use the Icebreaker merino wool layer. I use one both for my upper and lower body. And yeah, I just swear by these. They are amazing at regulating your temperature. Now onto the next one, jackets. In my opinion, the most important aspects of a great jacket are weather protection, breathability, and weight packability. My current go-to is the Patagonia Torrentshell 3L. And honestly, it nails all 3 of these. The kind of holy grail of waterproof and durable jackets right now is the Arc'teryx Beta AR, but that's if you are down to spend 600 euros on a jacket. And again, remember what I said before, just use the jacket as a shell, not for warmth. But yeah, if you're not down to pay 600 euros for just a jacket, some other really good brands are Columbia, Haglos, Mammut, and Decathlon. For really harsh conditions, I sometimes pack a rain poncho as a backup, and they're actually way more effective than any jacket when it comes to keeping you dry. The only downside is you will be looking a bit like a goofball. Honestly, I don't know how Daryl from The Walking Dead always looks so cool with his poncho on, but hey. Alright, shoes. I can already feel I'm gonna get some hate talking about shoes, because there's this constant discussion going on about hiking boots versus trail runners. But look guys, I'm gonna be honest, since I bought my first trail runners, I never looked back at hiking boots. They're lightweight, flexible, and dry really fast, but it does have less ankle support. So what this means is that when you're descending mountains, you have to know what you're doing or you're risking a rolled ankle. But honestly, to me, they're just so much more comfortable. I feel so much more mobile and I get fewer blisters. I personally use the Salomon Speedcross. I've used this model for many years. Yeah, they're amazing, I love them, and they look really good as well. But yeah, high-cut boots on the other hand give you this rock-solid ankle support, so sprains become way less likely. They're also better for carrying heavy loads, so if you're planning on a multi-day trip with a loaded pack, boots might be your move. Now a little extra, Crocs, something that I just have to include in this guide. Honestly, since I bought them, I just can't live without them anymore. It's like you don't know how nice they are for camping trips until you actually bring them with you. The thing is, when you do these long distances of walking, your feet will end up wet at the end of the day. And Crocs are just perfect for getting out of your hiking shoes and transitioning into a kind of chilling mode. Also, these are perfect for canoe trips since they're water resistant and dry so fast. So you don't need to worry about getting into the water and making your shoes wet.
First aid kit.
Don't make it more complicated than it has to be. I just keep it simple and I buy this kit from Care Plus. It has all the things you need to take care of small injuries. It has things like a sterile compress, hydrophilic bandages, alcohol wipes, you name it. And yeah, if you want to pack this stuff yourself, please go ahead, but personally, as a pretty chaotic person, I just rather spend 16 euros and have the peace of mind that I have everything with me that I need. Oh, and another thing, bring something that removes ticks. You know, Lyme disease and all that, so. Now, light. There's something pretty cool about stumbling out of your tent in the middle of the night to pee under nothing but darkness and the stars. But nevertheless, you really need a light. This is one of these items that's so stupidly easy to forget until the sun drops behind the ridge and suddenly you can't see the cliff 2 feet in front of you, which is not ideal. I always bring 2 types of light with me. One static lamp that I use to have a stable light in my camp, and one headlamp to use while I'm moving. The headlamp is just a simple Petzl headlamp. I have no clue what kind of model. Look guys, it's just a lamp that you put on your head. Don't overcomplicate it. And the static lamp is just some random ass lamp from Amazon. I can link it in the description, but guys, again, it's just a lamp.
Satellite device.
So trekking in nature is beautiful, but you should always, and I repeat, always deeply respect it as well. Things can go wrong very fast and the weather can change in seconds. So that's why it's very important for me to always have a way to call for help, even when I'm in the middle of nowhere. Personally, I've been using the Garmin Inreach for a couple of months now. The nice thing about this device is that it has worldwide satellite coverage. This way I can always reassure my family and my friends that I'm safe, even when there's no cell phone coverage. Second reason that I really love this device is because it has this emergency SOS button. So with one press of a button, I can send a SOS signal to the Garmin team and they will get in contact with the local emergency services if needed. Even though I will probably never have to use it, at least hopefully, it gives me immense peace of mind knowing that I can call for help even when I'm in the most remote locations. Maps. I'm very lucky that navigation has always been one of my strong points. Still, I always have some sort of map with me to navigate myself in case I get lost. What I really recommend is that you always have offline maps downloaded on your phone or that you have some kind of physical map with you. What I personally use is the app Gaia. This is an app that is perfect when you want to get more into wilderness and off-trail backpacking, but you can also use it for things like ski tours and canoe trips. It basically gives you this option to download maps, so it is the ideal app to use for outdoor backpacking with no internet connection. Also, you can download other people's GPS routes, you can create your own routes. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. The only downside of this app is that it's not really social or community driven, so if you want to find pre-existing routes, you need to scout for them on the internet. And honestly, most people, they try to kind of gatekeep the good routes. So yeah, there's that. Another app that I used for a long time is AllTrails. If you're looking for quick inspiration, hiking routes close to your location, this is the perfect app. I'm gonna be honest, this app is more for mainstream and popular routes. So be mindful about it, because when you're gonna follow a all-trail route, you're probably not gonna be alone. Nevertheless, it's a really good app to get started. It has an excellent community and it gives you a lot of visuals as well. So, and like I said, you could also just have physical maps with you, but personally, I'm just so messy, so I'd rather just have it on my phone. Waterfilter. This depends on the place you're gonna be backpacking, but in general, you always want to have a water filter. A lake in the mountains could look crystal clear, but it could be full of diseases. Even little water streams can be really dangerous. I hike a lot in the Alps like Switzerland and Austria, but you have to keep in mind that animals like cows, goats and foxes often use these rivers as a drinking spot, but also as a toilet. So I don't think I have to paint a picture for you as to why you shouldn't drink out of these rivers. Personally, I use a water bottle with an inbuilt filter. It's called Katadyn BeFree and it's lightweight, it's easy to use and it kills most of the bacteria from the water. What it doesn't do though is getting rid of viruses. Most of the time I don't worry about this too much, but if you want to be 100% safe and kill all viruses as well, you should cook your water for at least 1 minute or use some kind of iodium or chlorine tablets. Now, one of the things that make an overnight camping trip most magical to me is the campfire. Because the moment you light up a campfire, the place you chose to camp is no longer just a random place. It transforms into a place that feels more intimate, something that feels like home. To make a fire, I mainly bring 2 pieces of gear, an axe for the main fuel and a saw to collect kindling. The axe will split larger logs into manageable pieces that will keep the flames alive throughout the night. The saw, on the other hand, will be used to cut little branches. When gathering fuel, I often look for fallen dead wood, never living trees since they are green, heavy with sap and will only cause smoke. So that's pretty much it, guys. Also, I will be making a separate video about fire making and food, because honestly, these are things that need a bit more explanation and I don't want to make this video too long. So yeah, I will make a separate video about these. Also, I just wanted to make clear that I don't believe that you need to buy all this expensive gear right now to have some fun in the outdoors. But nevertheless, I would still say to be really mindful about what exactly you buy, because trust me, when you're out in nature and a storm appears, you're gonna be very happy that you're not sleeping in a Walmart tent. Also, buying gear that lasts will probably save you a lot of money in the long run. But yeah guys, if this guide has helped you in any way, please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. I will be focusing on a lot of outdoor content in the future. So yeah, if you're into that, subscribe. And I also created a community of like-minded people where we talk about philosophy, the outdoors and mental health. And we're slowly growing into this nice little community. So if that sounds like anything that interests you, then you're very, very welcome to join. Alright, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay wild.